From Mountain View to Jack's Hill. Rain drummed hard against the zinc roof, drowning out every sound except the soft crying of a baby in the corner. The scent of damp clothes and kerosene filled the small wooden room. In Mountain View, Kingston, survival was not a choice, it was a daily battle. For children huddled close on a thin mattress, Andre, 11, Shanice, 9, little Keisha, barely 3, and Kemar, only 7, holding them as tightly as his small arms could manage. Their mother, Marva, stood barefoot at the doorway, tears streaking her face, watching the back of the man walking away. "Leroy, please," she cried, voice cracking. "You can't do this. We have 4 children, they need their father." But Leroy didn't stop. His suitcase swung at his side, anger heavy in his eyes. "I can't stay here no more," he muttered, slamming the door behind him. The echo was louder than any gunshot. Marva collapsed to her knees. The rain outside masked her sobs, but Kemar heard them. He buried his face in the thin mattress and whispered to himself, voice trembling, "One day, I'll change everything. Mama will never cry again." Kemar grew up hungry, but determined. He studied by candlelight when electricity was cut off. When the gunshots rang outside at night, he would cover his sister's ears and whisper bedtime stories to drown out the fear. By the time he reached Excelsior Primary, his teachers noticed something rare, a mind sharp as a blade and an iron will that refused to break. Scholarships carried him to Campion College, one of Jamaica's elite high schools. But Campion was a different world. Uptown students laughed at his Mountain View accent. They mocked his shoes, second-hand, too big for his feet, and the bag he carried that had frayed straps. Kemar said nothing. He simply studied harder. It was at Campion he first saw Tiana Sinclair. She was radiant, the kind of girl everyone noticed. Her hair always neat, uniforms perfectly pressed. She laughed with the popular crowd, children of business owners and lawyers. Kemar watched from afar, silently in awe. He never dared to speak to her. Why would he? To her, he was invisible, just another boy from the ghetto, someone beneath her circle. When their eyes did meet once, in the library, she barely glanced at him before walking past with her friends. Kemar buried the feeling. He focused on what mattered, grades. He topped every exam, shocking teachers and classmates alike. When graduation came, he stood on stage with a scholarship, not just to any school, but to study abroad. As he hugged his mother at the airport, she whispered in his ear, "Go live your dream, son, but always stay humble." "I promise, Mama," Kemar said. And with that, he boarded a plane that would change his life forever. Life overseas was nothing like the glossy brochures. Kemar arrived in a strange city with bitter winters that bit through his thin jacket. He juggled 3 jobs, cleaning offices at night, delivering food in the freezing cold, and stocking supermarket shelves at dawn. By day, he attended classes, eyes heavy but mind sharp. Loneliness gnawed at him. Some nights, he sat in his small rented room, eating instant noodles, whispering to himself, "Hold on, Kemar. One day this will all be worth it." Years passed. He graduated top of his class in computer engineering. Still broke, still hungry, but determined. Then came the risk. A failing tech startup no one believed in was selling shares dirt cheap. Kemar saw potential, he put every dollar he had into it. Months later, the company soared. Overnight, his life transformed. But Kemar didn't stop there. He learned, invested, diversified. Apartment complexes, car rentals, a new mobile company that would later rival Digicel. Shares in Best Dressed Chicken. Strategic partnerships with established Jamaican brands. Every move quiet, calculated. By his early 30s, Kemar was a billionaire, but few knew. He lived modestly, driving himself, wearing simple clothes. The money wasn't for show, it was for freedom, for family. Years later, Kemar stepped off the plane at Norman Manley International Airport. He wasn't alone this time, wealth followed him, though no one could see it. André, now a young man with a guitar slung over his shoulder, was waiting at arrivals. "Big brother!" André shouted, embracing him. "Look at you, Kingston won't even recognize you." "Still the same me," Kemar smiled. "Just, with a little more to my name." They drove through Kingston quietly. As they passed Mountain View, Kemar stared out the window. Zinc fences still stood where he once played barefoot. At Mona Heights, a mansion waited behind tall gates. When Mama stepped out and saw it, she covered her mouth in disbelief. "My boy," she whispered. "You really did it." Kemar hugged her tightly. "No more crying, Mama. Ever again." Kemar worked tirelessly, not for fame but to rebuild his community. He launched apartment complexes across Kingston, affordable yet modern. Opened a car rental service catering to both locals and tourists. Created a telecom startup offering cheaper rates than the giants. Invested heavily in Digicel, Best Dressed Chicken, and other homegrown companies, strengthening Jamaica's economy while quietly building his legacy. It was at a charity gala, years later, that he met Tiana again. She was striking, elegant dress, confident smile, and she approached him first. "So you're the genius everyone's talking about," she teased, holding out her hand. Kemar chuckled softly. "And you are?" "Tiana Sinclair," she replied smoothly. He didn't recognize her. She had changed, older, polished. And she never hinted at knowing him from high school. Their courtship was fast. Tiana was warm, attentive, or so it seemed. Her father, Richard Sinclair, owned a struggling construction company, quietly drowning in debt. He saw Kemar not just as a son-in-law but as a lifeline. Kemar proposed quietly. Tiana accepted with tears and a smile. Plans for a lavish wedding began, and so did murmurs within Kemar's family. "Kemar," Shanice whispered one night, "are you sure about her? Something doesn't feel right." "She loves me," Kemar insisted. "I can feel it." But others weren't so sure. The night before the wedding, at the AC Hotel bridal suite, laughter spilled into the hallway. A bridesmaid, Alicia, a quiet girl from high school days, stood frozen outside the door, hearing Tiana's voice inside. "Tomorrow," Tiana giggled, "I locked down the whole of Jamaica. $4.5 million from the deal, plus the store he promised me. After that? Divorce. Take half. My real man is waiting for me back in the ghetto." Alicia's hands trembled as she hit record. The next day, the church was packed. Organ music swelled as Tiana walked down the aisle, flawless in white. "Do you, Kemar?" the priest began. Kemar raised his hand. "Before I answer, everyone needs to hear something." He played the recording. Tiana's voice filled the church. Gasps erupted. Phones came out. Hashtags were born before the vows could finish. "Kemar," Tiana stammered. "I can explain." "No need," Kemar said, calm but cold. "The wedding is off." By nightfall, #Gold Digger Exposed trended across Jamaica. Richard Sinclair's company collapsed as deals vanished overnight. Tiana became a cautionary tale, memes, whispers, laughter following her everywhere. After the chaos, Alicia approached Kemar quietly. "Do you even know who she is?" Kemar frowned. "Who?" "Tiana," Alicia said softly. "She went to Campion. You used to sit 2 rows behind her in math. You had a crush on her, but she never noticed you." Kemar froze. The memories hit like waves, her laugh in the hallway, the brief glance in the library. He had loved her twice, once as a boy she ignored, and again as a man she betrayed. The heartbreak cut deeper. Months later, Kemar needed air. "Mama," he said at dinner, "I'm going to St. Elizabeth. I need peace." He left quietly, taking a simple bus. No luxury cars, no entourage. Just him and the open road. In the hills of St. Bess, life slowed. He stayed with his grandparents, waking to roosters instead of alarms, bathing in rivers at dawn, helping feed goats and roast breadfruit by the fire. At the local market, he met Marcia. Mangoes. Sweet like sugar, she called, laughing as she stacked them in baskets. Kemar smiled. I'll take 2, maybe 3, if it comes with your number. She laughed, shaking her head. By 3, and I might think about it. Marcia didn't know who Kemar was, and he didn't tell her. She loved his kindness, his quiet way of listening, the way he helped her father fix fences and laughed with her little brothers. When he finally brought her to Kingston months later, she saw the Jacks Hill mansion for the first time. All this, yours? She whispered. Yes, Kemar said softly. But I never wanted you to love me for this, only for me. Marcia smiled. And I do. They married quietly, no headlines, no cameras. Just family and close friends. Andre's music climbed the charts. Shanice became a nurse, saving lives. Keisha became a beloved teacher in Mona. Mama glowed with pride, finally resting easy. And Tiana? A whisper at uptown parties, a cautionary tale about greed. Kemar became a legend, not because of his wealth, but because he survived heartbreak, stayed humble, and built love that money could never buy. Moral. In the end, Kemar learned the truth life had been teaching him all along: true wealth isn't counted in dollars or marble floors, it's counted in family, peace, and love that sees you for who you are, not what you own.